Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cisco Unplugged. I'm Dan Clamert, leader of the Wireless Center of Excellence at Cisco. And this week, in episode 13, we will be discussing RTLS and Cisco Spaces. We're excited and very fortunate to be joined, and I'd like to welcome to the show today Blanca Wong Mosquera from Charlotte, North Carolina. Hi, Blanca. How are you doing?
Hey, Dan, doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you. So before we get started, though, I just have a couple of reminders I'd like to touch on. And if you have questions today during the show, we take those questions via Slido. The Slido Q&A panel, if you've joined us via WebEx, is on the right-hand side. You can submit your questions there, and we'll either answer those online or we may break in and ask a couple live on the show today. Also, if you are streaming on the YouTube page, you can see the Slido link below the video. You can click on that, put in the passcode, which is there, and join the Slido to answer or to ask any questions you have, and we'll answer those during the broadcast. As usual, the show is being recorded and will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@symbolgetunplugged. So go out there, subscribe, and you'll be notified when we go live with new content. You can also register for upcoming episodes and see our upcoming episode list at cs.co/getunplugged. All right. And also, one last reminder, be sure to hang around until the end here today of the show. We've got a great demo starring Blanca's dog, Bailey. So very excited for that. All right. And now on with the show. Blanca, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dan, for that introduction. And thank you for having me on the show. As Dan mentioned, my name is Blanca Wong Mosquera. I'm a technical solutions architect on our global engineering and software sales operations. And we're going to dive into RTLS. And as a lot of you might know, RTLS stands for Real-Time Location Services. And Real-Time Location Services is allowing us to visualize where something might be. Now, for us in the unplugged world, or us propeller heads, it is mainly and significantly important for us to really look at RSSI. So if we actually look at cellular technology and location services as a whole, we have your cellular phones and we have GPS, and then just Wi-Fi being in the building and your phone coming into the building, or your Apple Watch walking in, that gives us presence detail. But then as we actually dive deeper into the RSSI of the actual device when connected, we're now looking at Wi-Fi in itself. We're looking at BLE tags. And we're also looking at some more technologies that are really coming into the marketplace with FTM, with fair time measurement. We'll have a little discussion about that later on. In addition to passive RFID tags and ultra wideband. These technologies, you're going to be seeing a lot in the headlines coming, especially with the introduction of Wi-Fi 7 within the next couple of years, and how that starts really giving us more granular look into that location technology. As you've seen on the bottom, 17 years of Wi-Fi location-based services that Cisco's been running since our MSC days, and all the way now through our cloud-based solution with Cisco Spaces. But let's dive deeper into some of these location tracking approaches that have occurred with Wi-Fi and or other mechanisms. So the first one, if you really think about it, is that cell of origin. This is like the caveman days of where to find things, right? This is the most simplistic form and mechanism to actually locate and approximate where someone might be or a device, because that mobile device is nearest to its tower. So that is the cell of origin. That is the nearest thing that it's coming to. And then we have distance-based or lateration, which eventually evolved to trilateration, which is all based on distance of the RSSI being heard from that access point across all the different signals, and then where they intersect, and that intersection point being that location of that device and the distance based on RSSI. And we know the X and the Y coordinates, So now we know distance, we know location, and we know RSSI, some of the most important things for RTLS. And then angle-based or angulation or angle of arrival. These are all technologies that are still based on angle. So mobile devices and the station determining the angle of that incident of where it's coming in. So that angle of that arrival of that actual mobile device in that location and that receiving sensor, because that's why we have access points, right? Transmit and receive. And then, okay, our location pattern. So this is more of a sampling of the radio and the recording of all the signals. Each location has a fingerprinted potential location based on where we are. So these are some, beginning of location tracking approaches. But how does it really apply in the Wi-Fi world? And these are some great next couple slides that we're going to dive into. So probe-based, right? This is our presence capability. So think about your wireless device, your mobile device. Let's go with that one for right now. Actually probes the access points and says, "Ooh, I'm a client. I'm probing. I want to connect." And it's not physically connected yet. It's sending out these probes in a frequency of anywhere between 10 seconds to 5 minutes, trying to connect to the Wi-Fi, but it's not really connected yet. But this is how we know probing wise, AP responds saying, "Oh, I know where that person is." And we get the RSSI calculation just from that probing response. But then we actually move to fast locate, and fast locate adds this additional data packet analytics capability within a wireless infrastructure, and especially in a Cisco wireless infrastructure where we can take advantage of that secondary radio that's in monitor mode and it's listening and syncing from the APs to the clients. What allows for us to get more closer in accuracy with a fast locate is that data packet being sent from that mobile device to the access points. So now we're getting more defined RSSI information on the channels. So then we can improve that location accuracy. Because if you recall, a lot of mobile devices actually go to sleep, and they do that to save their battery. But with fast locate, we've kind of nudge it in a way, just wake up that probe and send that data packet so we know now where it is and where it's moving across the wireless infrastructure in your environment. This does only work with connected clients, but that's all more beneficial than the probing one that we previously saw. And now we're going to get into a little bit of math. This was one of my more favorite subjects in school, though not one of my ultimate favorites all the way through, but we're not going to dive deeply into it. And I'm definitely not going to bring up a whiteboard like Al did during his session, which he provided amazing math calculations for you. But I am going to give you a really simple formula that allows you to calculate that free space path loss. And the reason is we need essentially three things to determine location. That is frequency, distance, and the frequency RSSI. That's right. I've been talking about it this whole time. All right. So the first thing we know is when a mobile client comes near a transmitter or comes near an access point, as soon as it moves away from that transmitter, we drop extremely quickly from that signal right away. That first meter, we know exactly what the frequency is for both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. For 2.4, it's 40 dB. That is that first meter. That's what we know. And this one is for channel 1. And then for 5 gigahertz, it drops to 47 dB in that first meter. Now, if I move a meter of a distance, which is the other most important thing for location, I am going to increase 6 dB time distance. So now it's doubled. So all I have to do is, if I'm at 1 meter, I know I'm 40 dB, and this is away from the access point, right? If I move away 1 meter, 40. If I move away another meter, so 2 meters away, now I'm at 46 dB. This is the easiest math you ever want to do, because what we're taking is this formula for the free space path loss, which is the dB, we're doing a log of 20 times the distance plus log times 20 of the frequency, which is a 2.4, with a constant 92.4. That is how we come up with these calculations across. But it's very easy to calculate because all we need to know is frequency and the distance and then add 6. So this is like a really great trick that you can use for impressing any of your friends in the local area. So this is why it's important also to understand how far away your clients are going to be from your AP, so you know location and distance wise. So now if we take a look at our actual mobile device, we know the transmit power of this device because we can take the same free space path lost equation and introduce transmit. So if we know the transmit time of a mobile device is 16 dBm, and at 5 gigahertz, it's 12 dBm, we're actually going to take that 16 dBm, subtract the 40 dBm, and now we get 24 dBm. And then, of course, our math, add 6, we get 30 dBm. Again, now same thing, same math, but we've just kind of inverted and intersected transmit. There is an actual equation that is related to this that really helps out. But this way, since you already know how to figure out free space path loss, you already know how to do this math as well. So we'll move away from the math and continue on to our journey in RTLS. So what are we going to expect from Wi-Fi? I get this customer question all the time. How accurate is it going to be? How farther away do things need to be, right? We do always have to consider attenuation because we do get them from the walls. And we also have to consider placement of our access points. We will go into that in 1 second. But the first thing is, if you're solely using RSSI based, your most accurate calculation would be 7 to 10 meters. So within 7 to 10 meters, if all I'm using is APs, then all I'll be able to find is 7 to 10 meters away. That is a little bit more than a head turn. Okay, kind of what I think of, where can I see it? But now if I enable fast locate capabilities within your controller, in addition to Cisco Spaces, now we're actually sending out that data RSSI based, and we can get down to 5 meters to 7 meters of accuracy. That is a little bit better. And the reason is, again, where that mobile device isn't allowed to just send out probes. We're actually sending data streams to it, or it's sending data to us so that we can know exactly where it is at each one of our access points based on the location and the RSSI. And then with some optimized RFID tags, especially if they're connected to Wi-Fi and your third-party partner might have optimized where the tags are, they're going to get down to 3 to 5 meters, which is very similar to BLE tags, which right now is all the rage. Everyone is really looking at moving away from RFID and really considering looking at BLE tags because we can get very accurate information within 3 to 5 meters. And the reason being is that BLE actually kind of combines that lack of probing, but adds that fast locate, but not in those same terms. But if we think about BLE is actually responding to more intervals onto the wireless network so that we're able to know more frequency where that BLE tag is. Now, we do have to be careful when we increase intervals and the transmit power on the BLE tags, because we might get more accurate, but those can affect the battery life of your BLE tags. So always take in consideration what those third-party partners recommend for the battery life of that device when you're making any changes on the transmit power or the interval times on those BLE tags. And then the latest kid on the block, ultra wideband, which is sub 1 meter of accuracy. Now, these are going to be new tags. There are going to be, ultra wideband capabilities that we'll be seeing coming out within the next several years. We do have customers already, or so I'm hearing, that are starting to try and look at ultra wideband as a solution. So things we need to consider, going back to our very second slide or third slide, the probe base, right? Making sure we get 1 to 2 updates per minute. We get roaming triggers, so we have updates. We have data packets up to 10 seconds. And for RFID tags, again, depends on the configuration, typically 5-minute update rate for static tags, for 1 minute for moving. And then if you do have any of those distress tags with push button immediately, usually 1 second of some kind of notification would be good. Now, if we look at an actual design, where do we need the place APs? Do we need more APs if we're going to do BLE? Do we need more APs if we need to do better RFI calculation? The big thing here to look at is accurate X and Y. So your mapping needs to be very accurate in the sense that your APs need to be accurately placed on your maps. We need to have a minimum of neg 75 dBm from an RSSI perspective, and we should have 3 or more APs, preferably up to 4, so that all of them can communicate to each other and locate that Wi-Fi device and or BLE client. So make sure we also, going back to the power, make sure that we get the right power level, the transmit power, the intervals correct, and then consider the Wi-Fi lice. And then also for telemetry reading on these tags, because BLE tags can provide telemetry information regarding temperature and movement. We also want to look at designing these properly. Again, consider when we move based on those intervals we change. And then location accuracy tests, just to make sure that everything is exactly where it's supposed to be from an additional deployment. So you may not need to do additional APs, but we're going to see here in our next slide what is really important. Placement. One of the biggest things that's really important about Wi-Fi, especially RTLS, for both Wi-Fi location and BLE placement. We want to be able to place our access points around the perimeter of your floor, your building, your home, so that we have good coverage on the outside. And then we have APs placed in the center. So we're creating these beautiful little triangles across so that we have all that minimum of 3 APs that are able to locate that device. In addition to that, the bees have this perfectly, right? The bees have made these nice little hexagons. They've got everything everywhere. So that's the kind of design that we want to be able to deploy, especially for location-based services for RTLS. And then we kind of look at a minimum of 50 feet distance from one access point to the next. We do provide in all of our documentation on CCO, and you've probably seen a lot of our other meetings at Cisco Live, we provide a conservative 2,500 square feet. We do feel like that is very conservative, but in the end of the day, if you're doing the math, 50 feet does not equal 2,500 square feet. So take that into consideration when you're doing your site surveys, especially if you're looking for location-based services. And then what we don't want to do is the old school coverage out, where you're just placing APs where the clients are at. We want a little bit more holistic coverage. And if we look at our healthcare organizations or dorm rooms, if we look at where these APs are, they might be in the dorm rooms. The APs might be in the hospital rooms. So if we really want to get that full coverage, we need to do that proper placement of all of our access points across the board.
Hey, Blanca.
Sure.
I just have a question. It's, well, I don't have one. We have a question from one of our viewers here, and I think it's a good one. Could you talk a little bit about multiple floors and recommendations around multi-floor structures and calibrations and things along those lines, considerations there?
Yeah, so when we're looking at multi-floor deployment, one of the things that you'll want to do is make sure your cutoff rate on your clients when you're doing your site survey is within that neg 65, neg 75 dBm. So we're not bleeding in between the floors. But in addition to that is DNA Center recently released, I think it was earlier this year, a mechanism for you to do 3D visualization of inter-floor bleed through. that really gives you that capability of seeing what's going between the floor. The other thing that has always been true, at least what I've always recommended my customers to do, is RF profiles on the floor so that you're making sure to keep the RF within the parameters that you want with each one of the individualized floors. There's always going to be a tiny bit of bleed through, especially in atrium environments, or if you have, grand stairwells. And if you also think about, a cruise ship, it's very hollow in the center. Yeah. But if you really do RF planning, then that will really help for that inner bleeding capability.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. I also forgot about data rates. Also look at your data rates on your 2.4 and your 5 gigahertz. Now let's dive deep, a little bit deeper into fair time measurement. And fair time measurement, as you might guess, is based on round trip. So the time that the packet goes from the access point to the client. So how fast does that get there? And the protocol then returns. We're looking at how all of this is going across from the AP to the client. And if you also notice, this is chipset based. So every chipset will either support fair time measurement or not support fair time measurement, or when they will support it will be the actual more certification of that process. This is a new standard that has recently come out. We've implemented fair time measurement in all of our latest Wi-Fi 6 and 6E access points. So our customers will be able to take the advantage of using fair time measurement in location-based services. We're actually trialing a lot of functionality of fair time measurement within client location, so that we can actually accurately report where these clients are with FTM. And we're also introducing something that you'll see here in a little bit as well. We do have, this is reliant on the time, as you can imagine, not synchronization full, but nanoseconds of time and meters. So fair time measurement is going to give us a little bit more accurate reading from a location-based services capability. And this is what's inherent in your APs and the chipsets. And then we talked about ultra wideband being an anchor-based technology. So the anchor sends the packet, again, reliance on round trip capability. And the packet is then received by the multiple anchors, and the distance is then calculated by that time distance of arrival. These are all 6 gigahertz with 5 megahertz channel widths. We're very not sensitive to noise or reflection, but look for ultra wideband within the next couple year, I would say, to really start hitting the marketplace for that sub 1 meter accuracy. And look also in our marketplace that we have in Cisco Spaces for support for ultra wideband tags. So let's dive into what is Cisco Spaces. So Cisco Spaces is the evolution of our location-based services engine, except now we've taken our location-based services into the cloud. But it's also enhanced by all the capabilities within Cisco Spaces to turn your buildings into sensors. And sensors, not in the sense that you would think of a sensor, but all the functionality and infrastructure that you already have today in your environment, that then your buildings can become smart buildings and smart spaces. So not only do you know about where visitors are or what is the occupancy level of those areas in your building, but also temperature. How's the temperature doing in some areas? Do we need to change out, facilities to get more people because we've had a rush come through? And all of this is fueled by Cisco data sources. So we support our full Cisco networking environment. So we have Catalyst on-prem, we have Cisco wireless, we have Meraki, we have Catalyst switches. We also support a multitude of our WebEx devices as well in Cisco Spaces. That allows for all of that connection of that contextual data from these endpoint devices. So we get the opportunity to pull telemetry from our access points. Well, with environmental sensors, we can pull same sort of telemetry and context out of our WebEx devices. And we can get these from our MT sensors from our Meraki line as well. And all of these capabilities roll up into Cisco Spaces as an overall platform that delivers smart operations that I'm going to go into in a little demo here. It also gives you workspace environment. So your facilities folks that are looking at real time, how many people are in the building right now? And how often is that building being used? And how many people are on that floor on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? And do I need to look at changing out the actual leases for those environments? We have a lot of customers that after COVID are really looking at how their spaces are being used. And ironically, Cisco Spaces is really helping our customers do that, because we can get not only location-based services that I've been talking to you about, but we can also get IoT services enabled for BLE and for other technologies. But we also work with our third-party vendors to integrate all that data that's coming to Cisco Spaces and provide it to our third-party partners through our Meta API. So we're kind of not only in the IT space anymore, we're also working with a lot of line of business organizations that are outside of the IT environment that really are able to take advantage of Cisco Spaces. I'll do a demo towards the end, but let's just finish up here on what is our Cisco wireless support going to give you at Cisco Spaces. You'll see here, I won't go through all of them, but this is a full lineup of all of our access points, the BLE capability, fast locate capability, as well as those that have and support environmental sensors. And then for our latest APs, the capabilities that are seen within Cisco Spaces on each one of those, as I go through the apps for open roaming, captive portals, I'm sure you can understand what those might be, behavior metrics and location analytics, detect and locate and tracking of devices and IoT services within our organization. And then, of course, our access points support both scanning and transmitting. So we not only scan for BLE devices, but we can also send data by transmitting notifications and push alerts from the APs to the actual BLE tags, and send them to the applications. And we have all the data being streamed just from a single infrastructure point versus doing an overlay infrastructure. And then the last really amazing thing that we've introduced lately with that fair time measurement capabilities is AP auto locate with our Cisco Spaces rich maps. Here we're using anchor access points on the perimeter of the AP. And then we have APs in the center. I kind of put this together with, I have girlfriends that are anchor girlfriends, right? I know exactly where they are. I'm an anchor girlfriend. I know exactly where everybody is at one time or another, right? Everybody can come to me and say, where is so-and-so in the building? I can go, oh, they're over here. Oh, they're over there, right? And then I have lots of girlfriends in the center and I know exactly where all of them are. So you have your anchor girlfriends and then you have your APs in the center or your girlfriends that are the ones that are just where I'm going to be over here. I'm going to be over here. But only your anchor girlfriends know exactly where all of them are. And I know that's a really silly analogy, but it really helps to simplify what we're doing. But on the background, it's an amazing algorithm that allows for these APs to be placed as anchors. And then we calculate based on your placement where they actually are on the map using fair time measurement. So that how time-wise did I hear it? And also using X and Y, again, distance, RSSI, all the components that we need for RTLS. And then here's a little bit of where are we right now. We're currently in phase 1. We are in beta. You do have to have known anchor locations, as I mentioned, to do that FTM automatically and place the access points. We do look for accuracy. You can move them as well. Like let's say the algorithm might be a couple meters off. You can then replace your access point, but we do give you a percentage of accuracy that we believe that AP is in that location on the map, and you can correct that. So versus the old method of getting a map, running around, looking where the AP is in the ceiling, writing it down on the map, then going back to your desk and then placing it. Now you have a mechanism with our anchor APs that are just access points, but we name them as anchors. and then creating the algorithm that then deploys them out to your maps. This is a little quick AP location map as what you have, how it works. This is where we start and this is where we finish. And this is, I'm going to try to do a quick demo for you on my, my dog. This is Bailey. Hopefully this will go fast. So I'm going to show you my home real quickly. I've run out of time, but I hope I can get this done for you very fast. You can see I have this already mapped out, but this is a use case for my dog. I have a BLE tag, as you saw on her. I'm on a global team, so I always call her Perra. Oops, did I spell that wrong? Nope. What happened? Oh, can't find it. Okay, this was just working. Okay. Search. All right, we'll try it one more time. Oh, I know why. I used uppercase. Okay. So where is Bailey? She's not in here. She looks like she's in the living room. But then if we look historically, where has she been today? My children aren't home right now, so she spent a lot of time with me and in the office and going outside. So some of the quick capabilities that we have in Cisco Spaces, and hopefully you'll tune in later with a team might have me back on and we can go deeper into Cisco Spaces. Thank you, Dan. I think I have hit some of the marks.
All right. Yeah, that's great. I love the demo and seeing where Bailey's hanging out. So
yeah,
thank you for doing that. All right. That was a great session. Great show here. And just taking a look here, we had a lot of questions. So just want to see, it looks like most of them have been addressed. And this might be a common one you get. One last question here. Do I still need a site survey if I have fair time measurement?
The fair time measurement doesn't mitigate for you to not have a site survey. You still want to have accurate site surveys that, you know, allow you to determine how many access points you're actually going to need, right? Fair time measurement won't tell you how many APs to do for your placement. So I still highly recommend, especially if you haven't done a deployment yet, to do your site survey. What fair time measurement is going to do is give us more accurately the location of that mobile device after you've already done your site survey.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, thanks. Yeah, all right. So I would just ask, I would first of all thank everyone for watching and attending here as we close out. If you see the survey that pops up afterwards, please take a moment. It's a brief survey to give us feedback on this. We're always looking to improve and build on these episodes. And then also check out our YouTube channel again. So youtube.com/@getunplugged. Subscribe there and you'll be notified when we do go live. And then also, if you do have questions for us, you can get a hold of us and you can always reach out through your account team. You can also email us at getunplugged@cisco.com. So thanks a lot. And until next time, stay connected and unplugged.
Mm-hmm.